And they were not wrong. Farmers, I hope you've learned a thing or two when it comes to climate solutions and innovations of having and harvesting very nice potatoes. Now let's talk about plastic solutions and plastic pollution. Negotiations on a global treaty to end plastic pollution is drawing close this particular Thursday today, although in Geneva, Switzerland, as nations remain deadlocked over whether to curb the exponential growth of plastic production. A draft of the treaty released Wednesday does not limit plastic production or address the chemicals used in plastic products. Instead, it focuses on areas of broad consensus, including reducing the number of problematic plastic products, promoting redesign for recyclability and reusability, and improving waste management. It calls on nations to make voluntary commitments to end plastic pollution, rather than imposing globally binding rules. Now, why is this interesting to you? Kenya had earlier last week formally given out the proposal to host the secretariat of this particular global treaty. I spoke to Clive Donnelly, who is from United Nations Environmental Programme. He's a global coordinator of youth and children, on why this particular treaty is really necessary for Kenyans. Listen in.
Hello, and thank you for having me today. Yes, the negotiations are moving towards their final stages, and I can say our delegations have really been working hard trying to push for people-centered language and approaches within the treaty. And as the negotiations are, moving towards the final end, I mean, things are looking quite intense. The resumed round of negotiations to deliver the world's first legally binding treaty. And this instrument was mandated by UNEA Resolution 514 to address the full life cycle of plastic from issues of design, production, chemical use, and disposal. But how things look like, the factual picture on the table is bleak and hugely politically contested. Procedurally, we've seen that contact groups have already finished, and the plenary is now grappling with the chair's draft proposal. And we've seen intense plenary discussions and regional consultations, delegates trying to weigh whether the chair's structure can be strengthened or will instead be accepted as the basis of final text. And the negotiations is extremely timely constrained, and also, I can say, intensely political. Substantively, we've seen the core divide is simple, but also very profound, as one camp is trying to urge an ambitious life cycle treaty that includes the upstream measures, binding limits on virgin plastic production, strict design standards, and control on chemicals of concern. But the opposing camp also tries to favor a narrow treaty focused on waste management, areas of recycling, and voluntary national measures. But again, over the last days, we've seen the chair's latest draft text has received huge criticism for omitting the production caps and diluting chemicals controls, and prompting sharp objection from many high ambition countries or high ambition coalition countries. These omissions really matters because when you try to focus on production and chemicals controls, they are the mechanism that stop pollution at source. And without them, countries can improve collection and recycling, while upstream flows continue to overwhelm systems and ecosystems. We've seen that observers and many delegations, they are arguing that a downstream-only pact could leave vulnerable population exposed and allow continued expansions, and having the plastic economy widely expanded. And countries already are trying to see if this is something that they can try to have a compromise. But already we are seeing that an influence and legitimacy issues are also continue to be flagged. Already, independent analysis already are reporting that close to over 200 fossil fuel lobbyists and petrochemicals are already in the room. already some of them claims suggest that they are embedded within the national delegations, and the number of petrochemicals campaigners, fossil fuel lobbyists is overwhelmingly more than the number of the civil society groups, indigenous people, and civil society teams are already warning that this is a skewed and this kind of a bargain within negotiation risks having a text that favors procedural procedures over the people, the ambition of people and the planet. And now what I can mention is that now the immediate term, there are three realistic outcomes that may come out of this treaty. One, negotiators may agree to have a package that maybe reinserts meaningful upstream measures while offering implementation support on finance, capacity building, and technological transfer to help vulnerable countries to comply with these objectives. Another outcome that we may see, maybe we may land a weekend of a poorly compromised treaty that emphasizes on waste and voluntary measures and postpones maybe hard upstream rules. And maybe three, we may see maybe an extension of the negotiations or deferring the negotiations into another session. But if parties cannot bridge this divide, it can be really problematic, compromising, postponing the outcome of the treaty, a people-centered treaty. Already, if these negotiations continue beyond the agreed date, already some delegates may not be able to sustain themselves within the ongoing negotiations of the treaty. But now what to watch maybe in the next hours as the treaty negotiations comes to an end is whether the upstream language on production and chemicals can be reinserted into the text, or whether we will have a clear finance and implementation package, and whether parties will affirm a final text that it is a member states driven, of course, but this move also will determine if the treaty can be both effective and equitable, or if it will be another symbolic discussion, just ticking the box that fails to deliver on high ambition that is required. So maybe negotiations now, as they face the deadlock, in short, maybe the negotiations is already as a big look ahead, but the choice is now between a people-centered life cycle instrument or a narrowly less ambitious treaty that risks prolonging the harm. And what I can say, the world is watching, and we need a treaty that continues to build the faith of multilateral solution, build the faith of multilateral commitment towards delivering a people-centered approach for a resilient planet. Yeah, thank you so much, Stanley, for having me. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Clive Donnelly. He is the Global Coordinator of Children, Youth and the Major Group at the United Nations Environmental Programme, just breaking it down to us on what this particular global treaty